These are ProTech RC shock pliers. These are absolutely great for putting together links. I don't know how I ever lived. Hey guys, welcome back to Revolution XRC. Welcome to the next part of my IERC Merge Class 1 build series. In this part of the build series, I am going to be putting together the links and possibly mounting up the drive shafts, the shocks, and everything to the axles and get them ready to put on the chassis. Now, I have not exactly decided on what I'm going to use for the shocks or the drive shafts yet. For the time being, I'll be using these axial wildboard WB8 drive shafts. Of course, these aren't the actual links I'm going to use. I'm going to have to figure that out as I go. So we'll put that aside for now. As far as the shocks go, I have these TRX4 takeoff shocks. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these or Element Enduro shocks, which are my favorites. But if I do use these shocks, I may want to swap out these springs. And let's put that aside. Now for the links, I am going to be using these links by RC 4x4. These are for the Class 1 Merge. And you can see here that the links are high clearance links. They include the steering links as well as the rod ends and metal pivot balls. And these are from RC 4x4. I believe you can find him on Instagram, and I will see if I can find the link and put it in the description below. Alright, so to get started, we are going to put together the links. And to put together the links, I have this tool here by ProTech RC. These are ProTech RC shock pliers. These are absolutely great for putting together links. I don't know how I ever lived without having these before, but I will put a link to this in the description below. And I have this 3D printed tool that will help me put the rod ends on, and I could put a link to this in the description below as well. Alright, for the front axle to start off with, you'll need the following links. You'll need the steering link, the drag link and the panhard link, and the 3 front upper and lower links. You'll also need 12 rod ends and 12 pivot balls. Alright, the upper links or the front links are all assembled and we're ready to attach them to the axle. Okay, to mount the links to the front axle, I'm going to use the provided screws from the SSD Pro 44 diamond axle housing. These are, I believe, M3 by 14s, but I'm going to use these for the lower links, 2 for the lower links, 2 for the shocks, which I'm not going to use yet, 1 for the upper link, and these 2 I had to source myself. This is a M3 by 20 for the steering link and drag link, and this is another one for the other end of the steering link, and that should be a M3 by 14. This one is a 16. I just didn't have enough 14s left. I'm going to find the 14 and switch it out later, but yeah, you can do M3 by 14. So let's start off with the upper link, which is, let's see here, these 2 are the same length. Those are the lower links. This one is the upper link. Once again, you want to be very careful that you do not over tighten them and destroy the plastic. Now let's go ahead and move to the lower links. Looks like I'll need thread lock for this one. And we'll actually need another screw for the panhard, and that should go like this, and I believe that should be around like M3 by 12 should suffice. So let me go look for M3 by 12. Alright, I looked in my SSD housing screw, leftover screws, and there's an M3 by 10 in here. That should work for the panhard. Of course, it's a little short. You could probably go all the way up to M3 by 12, but I don't think M3 by 10 is going to be a problem. There you go. That completes putting together the links for the front axle, and we'll go ahead and move on to the rear. Alright, so I took the upper link back off due to the offset pumpkin nature of this axle, front axle. I'm going to put the third or upper link, the front upper link, on the same side as the short side of the axle, and that's the way it is on the SSD Trail King as well. That also has a offset pumpkin on the front axle. The other thing is, for most rigs, you usually have the bend closest to the axle, like that. But in this case, I've noticed, I kind of mocked it up and I noticed that when the axle kind of pivoted in a certain direction, it kind of had some binding there. So to have more clearance, you can kind of have the upper link in the other direction, and it just gives you a little bit more room to work with when the axle is tilted. But since it is going onto the other side of the pumpkin, normally you would only need that M3x12 and have it go from this this side to this middle point right here. But if you notice on these axles, the indentation for the flat part of your screw is only on one side, it's not on both, and I don't want to stress the plastic and crack it. So I am going to have to use a M3x25, which is the one that's used for the rear, so I'll need another one for the rear because I'm robbing it for the front. But basically you're just going to stick this and go all the way through to the other side. Let's go ahead and do that. That's actually the way I originally had it. I actually wanted it this way. Now once again, the reason I'm using it in 3x25, if you can see right here, there is a flat part for the head of the screw to sit against, which is not on the other side. But you can see differences. And you don't want to over tighten it, just because I do find that this plastic is stiff enough to kind of crack if you over tighten, so just be careful with that. But that should take care of the front axle right there. The other thing is, I'm not fully convinced that this drag link is, I guess, is the right kind of link that I want for this rig. I'll have to see how the clearances are. I don't know if it should be this way or the other way, but it's something I'll figure out when I actually get the servo kind of mounted on the chassis and have this hooked up to the servo horn. Usually on my drag links, I usually have the angled rod end, so I'll have to see how this works out. We'll see if we keep it or not. On the Trail King, we actually have two of these double bend links, but on these RC 4x4 ones, for some reason the drag link is just one bend. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll revisit that later. Okay, let's move on to getting the links onto the rear axle now. Alright, so for the rear axle, you have the remaining links, the two uppers, the two lowers, 8 rod ends, and 8 pivot balls. Let's go ahead and take the pivot balls and rod ends. Once again, do not over tighten. Now I think I'm gonna mock this up. I'm not gonna add the upper links for now. I think this might have the same issue where if I do it the normal way, the links might touch each other right there. So I might have to turn them backwards to give it that clearance, which is usually like right there. Yep. So let's go ahead and let me figure that out first, and I'll be right back. Alright, I've decided to have the upper links on the rear axle put in the normal direction for now, and we'll see if I'll need to reverse the upper links to get that clearance when the axle articulates. But for right now, let's go ahead and mount these axles up to the chassis. And to do that, you'll need to remove the sliders. In hindsight, I should have waited before putting the sliders on, but that's okay. We'll do one side at a time. I kind of needed the sliders on to mock some things up anyway, so. You'll want to use the grub screws provided with the Merge chassis right here for the links. We'll take care of the front axle, or one side of the front axle first. Alright, the lower links are attached. Let's go ahead and flip this around. Well, actually, we need to put the slider on first. Can't forget that. There we go. Now we'll flip it around. And I think I'm going to take care of the rear links first. Do have a concern here as far as the rear goes. I'm worried about that area right here because the drive shaft goes here. I'm wondering if it's going to hit this nut right there. We'll have to see. If it does, I'm going to have shorter links here and move this over one hole. But let's go ahead and bolt up the front first and check it out. Right here. Alright, the links are all attached to the chassis. I'm gonna have to figure out if the drive shaft is gonna be affected by all this. But here's what I was worried about as far as the rear links go. Depending on the articulation of axle, there was a potential chance for these links to hit and prevent articulation, but looks like it's not an issue. It probably would have been an issue if I moved this down one hole, but with it the way it is right now, it looks like it's fine. And as far as the front goes, I did have to reverse it. You can see right there. That's where the bend is, so it allows that articulation. So the front's fine. The rear is fine the normal way, which I'm happy about. Alright, so now let's take a look at the drive shafts and see what we can do about that. Alright, here I have axial wild bore drive shafts. As I suspected, they're way too long. I have these parts to shorten them up, and that's what I'm going to do right now. look. Still too long, so it's gonna be short. And this one is also gonna be short. Okay, look. I'm wondering if the insert might be a little bit too long. I might as well just make sure these are in phase as well. And I think they still might be too long, actually. Hang on. Let's check this out. Nope, they're good. Short will work fine. Alright, let's go ahead and add the grub screws. Or set screws. Oh, sorry. The pins, screw pins, that's what they're called. Screw pins. Guess the trouble is finding out where the holes. No, the wrong side, maybe. And this is a little bit of what I was worried about. The drive shaft is hitting the linked rod end. I'll put it on for now, and I'm gonna have to figure that problem out. Okay, let's take it aside. How in the world did this get caught here? The motor wires are getting a little annoying. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's giving me a problem. So there's a couple ways to solve this. I can either move the link further back, but I'm gonna have to have shorter links for that. Or I could use different drive shafts. If I use metal drive shafts that don't have this big plastic part there, that should work as well. I'll leave this for now though. One of the problems of having the 2-point load, you've got that drive shaft output way over to the side. So, let's go ahead and take care of the front. Basically, I probably won't be using these drive shafts. I am going to actually take, I believe I have another set of Enduro metal drive shafts, so I'm going to take a look at those. Those should fit. If not, I'm going to have to go buy some nice ones. Yeah, it's over here. Wait, actually, screw there, screw here. Alright, so front drive shafts are not an issue. Rear drive shafts are, because of the link right there. But that is the drive shafts all attached. I'm going to swap out the drive shafts for sure to something better, thinner. But we'll go ahead and move on to the shocks. Okay, for the shocks, I'm going to be using Traxxas TRX4 shocks. Just because I have them on hand, I likely will switch them out for Element RC Enduro shocks with the newer mini springs. But for right now, I'll be using these TRX4 shocks. I'll also have to have some spacers and longer screws for the way I'm going to set it up. These are for 25mm screws, and these are for 20mm screws, as well as 4 4mm spacers and 4 1mm spacers. That's just because there's a difference between the shock standoff up here and the pivot ball down here, and we need to space it out far enough from the chassis so that the springs don't hit the side of the chassis. So let's go ahead with the rear first. Now I've also got 4 M3 lock nuts. And I'll hand tighten these later because I do not want to crack the shear for the shock mounts. Actually, let's do that right now. Set these out of the way. Well, let's see if I can do without the spacers. Yeah, they're gonna hit. So I think I'm gonna need these 1mm spacers. Try that again. And it still will hit. So mainly it's hitting because of the collar right here. Let me increase the spacers right here. Let's try 2.5mm. Maybe a 2mm. Alright, the 2mm should work. Let me see if I kind of put the shock here, if that makes any difference. It looks like it might. So let's try that. Alright, I've actually settled with a M3 2.5 spacer for the top, so we'll go with that. And I actually need a longer screw. These are M3 by 20s. I need something more in the lines of like M3 by 22. 25 would be too long, but we'll have to just use this for now. Now, before I continue on, one option to get more clearance for this ring is to flip the shock upside down. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I actually had some significant leaking from the top of the shock cap here. So that's why I have it this way. It seems like the bottom of the shock body actually seals better, so there's less leakage. The top was leaking for me, and that's why I don't have them flipped upside down. Otherwise, you could flip it upside down and you can get the clearance that you need. But let's go ahead with this for now. And I'll probably be playing around with shocks anyway. This is just to kind of get the build up and running for now. So look at this. Alright, cool. I don't hear any springs grinding against the side of the chassis. I think we're good right now. So let's go ahead and do the same for the front. Okay. Cycle the suspension, make sure nothing is rubbing. So far so good. There we go. So the shocks are added, the axles are mounted onto the chassis. That just about does it for this part of the build series. So thanks for watching, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for future updates on this IERC Merge Class 1 build series. Thanks for watching.